Now, for the brothers and sisters who think that you're from Egypt, okay, even though there's no history in which you can prove that you came from Egypt into Africa and your foreparents came over here on the cargo slave ships. But because you know so much rich history was in Egypt, and mathematics was in Egypt, it is equated to Egypt, you immediately want to hold to that because there's some rich history you can actually go and see yourself. And you know that they were all black people. You do know that. Now, that leads us to some questions. Because if the Egyptians were black, then the people that were enslaved under the Egyptians, which were Moses' family, the Israelites, must have been what? They must have been black. How can Moses pose for second to Ramesses? How can he pose as an Egyptian if he was anything other than black? Okay? So now, that lets you know, just because you're dark, that does not define your nation. Okay? Noah had 3 sons. Noah was a dark-skinned man. His sons were dark. Okay? How do we know that Moses was a dark-skinned man? Let's start there, since we're dealing with Egypt. And Moses was known for helping the children of Israel come out of Egypt. Let's go to Numbers, the 12th chapter, on the curse that came down on his sister Miriam. I need you to start. Let me get it with you. For those who think that we are Egyptians. Let's go to Numbers 12. Let me get it with you one moment. All right. Numbers 12. And let's start at the first verse.
And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses. And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married. For he had married an Ethiopian woman.
So Miriam and Aaron, Moses' brother and sister, started speaking against Moses because he married outside of his nation. An Ethiopian woman. Because according to the law, an Israelite was supposed to prefer their own. And this goes into another thing. It's going to, just because someone is married outside of the nation, they got to deal with that. We're not supposed to be the judges of who's marrying and all those things. It's going to show you that. Read on.
And they said, had the Lord indeed spoken only by Moses? Have he not spoken also by us? And the Lord heard it.
So they started boasting now. The Lord ain't only dealing with Moses, he's dealing with us too. Because they seen that Moses was in a fault. Read.
Now the man Moses was very meek above all the men which were upon the face of the earth. And the Lord spake suddenly unto Moses, and unto Aaron, and unto Miriam, Come out, ye three, unto the tabernacle of the congregation. And they 3 came out.
Go ahead.
And the Lord came down in the pillar of the cloud, and stood in the door of the tabernacle, and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forth. And he said, Hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I the Lord will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream. My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all mine house. With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in dark speeches. And the similitude of the Lord shall he behold. Wherefore, then were ye not afraid to speak against my servant Moses?
He said, listen, you shouldn't have spoken against Moses because I don't speak to him in parable and dreams. I come directly to him. And were you not afraid to speak against him? Read.
And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, And behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow.
He became what?
Leprous, white as snow.
She became leprous, white as snow. So the curse that was put on her was the Lord took her melanin away from her. So in order for her to be dealing with this strike that came from the Most High, what color must she have been before this happened? Say it.
Black.
She must have been black. If the curse came on her and then she became white as snow. So the Lord stripped her of her melanin. To prove to you that the Israelites were dark as well as the Africans. This is Moses' sister. Read on.
And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous.
Go ahead.
And Aaron said unto Moses, Alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not the sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly, and wherein we have sinned.
The Lord said, do not put this sin on us. Aaron, said, do not put this sin on us, Lord, please. Because he was shocked when he looked at Miriam, and her melanin was gone. Read.
Let her not be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed, when he cometh out of his mother's womb.
Go ahead.
And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, Heal her now, O power, I beseech thee.
So even though she was speaking against Moses, Moses was meek and had mercy. He was like, Lord, please heal her. Read.
And the Lord said unto Moses, If her father had but spit in her face, should she not be ashamed 7 days? Let her be shut out from the camp 7 days, and after that let her be received in again.
So the Lord gave us 7 days for her speaking against Moses. Took away her melanin, and she didn't get it back until 7 days were done. For her speaking against Moses. Moses wasn't perfect, but he was the man that the Most High chose. Y'all see that? More proof. Go to Exodus, the 4th chapter. Because first of all, we're showing the fact that the Israelites were dark. So those out there who think that being African is the way to be, even though you're not from any of these 4 families which we showed earlier, now you can come back to your true heritage, knowing that the true Israelites were dark, and they were responsible for all the rich history you think these other countries stake claim to. You think you're an Egyptian because you thought the Egyptians had all the riches and power, but you're going to find something out today. But let's deal with this color real quick. Go to Exodus, the 4th chapter. When Moses was asking the Most High to reveal how he would go into the land and free his people. And the Most High had to give him signs to let him know that he was with Moses. I need you to go to start at the 4th verse.
And the Lord said unto Moses, Put forth thy hand, and take it by the tail. And he put forth his hand, and caught it, and it became a rod in his hand.
So the Lord gave him a rod. Read.
That they may believe that the Lord thy power, the power of thy fathers, the power of Abraham, the power of Isaac, and the power of Jacob hath appeared unto thee.
Go ahead.
And the Lord said furthermore unto him, Put down thy hand into thy bosom.
Put your hand into thy bosom. So this is what happened.
And he put his hand into his bosom. And when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow.
So the Lord was showing him a sign to let him know that he was with him. So he put his hand into his bosom, and when Moses plucked it out, it became white as snow. Read.
And he said, Put thine hand into thy bosom again.
Go put it back into your bosom.
And he put his hand into his bosom again, and plucked it out of his bosom, and behold, it was turned again as his other flesh.
It was turned again as his other flesh. So the Lord was showing him that he was with them by showing him different miracles. One, he put his hand in his bosom, and it turned white to prove that to prove to you that Moses was a dark man. If he was white, then that miracle could not have happened. And when he plucked it out again, it looked just like his other flesh. Y'all see that? That's crystal clear. Right? Now, we want to link into the Egyptians of saying, okay, the Egyptians are great. They're outstanding. Look at the pyramids and the mathematics. What happened to those mathematics once Israel left the land? No more mathematics? No more pyramids? To show you that the greatness in Egypt came from the children of Israel. Every place the children of Israel reside, the Lord blesses. The Lord blessed any place we reside. So in order for them to build this modern day Egypt, they needed the same people. They needed the children of those slaves that built Egypt to build modern day Egypt. Okay? Let me get some scriptures here. Before I get some scriptures, we're going into the Josephus to give you some history. And then we're going back into the Bible. And we're going to prove to you where the greatness and history of Egypt, where that comes from. We're going into the Antiquities of the Jews, Book 1, Chapter 8, Paragraph 2. How did Egypt become great? It says here, for whereas the Egyptians were formerly addicted to different customs and despised one another's sacred and accustomed rites, and were very angry one with another on that account. Abram, we know that's Abraham, conferred with each of them, and confuting the reasonings that made use of every one for their own practices, demonstrated that such reasonings were vain and void of truth. So when they were contending with each other in the past, Abraham came and set them in order. Whereupon he was admired by them in those conferences as a very wise man, and one of great sagacity. When he discoursed on any subject he undertook. And this not only in understanding it, it persuaded other men also to assent to him. He communicated to them arithmetic and delivered to them the science of astronomy. So all the greatness you are attributing to Egypt came from our father Abraham. Before Abraham, there was no understanding of science. It says he communicated to them arithmetic, which is your mathematics, and delivered to them the science of astrology. For before Abraham came into Egypt, they were unacquainted with those parts of learning. So before our patriarch father Abraham came into Egypt, they knew nothing about arithmetic. For that science came from the Chaldeans into Egypt, and from thence to the Greeks also. So that science that we taught, that our father Abraham taught the Egyptians, that same science went from civilization to civilization. Greece took it on, and then who took it on? Eventually the Romans took it on, because they came right after the Greeks. But yet they'll stop the science at Egypt. Why? Let's cut them off, so the name of Israel shall be no more in remembrance. Why they don't tell you that there was no science before our foreparent Abraham got there? There was no arithmetic before we got there. Okay? There's more. There's more. I'm going to save this part for later right here. And I'm going to read it. Why will I read this? Because according to the Bible, go to Genesis 41 and 37. According to the Bible, Jacob's youngest son Joseph, which is the father of Ephraim, he was also the father of Manasseh. These are the modern day Puerto Ricans and the modern day Cubans. Joseph is the father of the modern day Puerto Ricans and the modern day Cubans. Joseph was the youngest son of Jacob. He was the youngest, but the Lord was working with him through dreams. And when you read in Genesis, these dreams were showing that at the very end he would be higher than all his brothers. It was also showing 7 years of plenteous and 7 years of famine. So his brothers sold him into Egypt. And because he was sold into Egypt, he was able to interpret the dreams, and he was raised in high rank in Egypt. And because of the science and the understanding that he was learning and dealing with, and because he was able to interpret the dreams and to save the earth from a famine, he was known in Egypt as Imhotep, second to the king. Yes, Imhotep. One of the greatest in Egypt history was an Israelite, a Jew. Okay? And this is recorded in the Bible. If it wasn't for the Lord sending one of our people during the famine, the whole earth would have died. So we saved Egypt. The Israelites saved Egypt. How do we know that? Go to Genesis 41 and 37.
And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh and in the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, Can we find such a one as this, a man in whom the Spirit of the Most High is?
He said, listen, we can't find a man nowhere as great as Joseph. The Spirit of the Most High is in this man. Read.
And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, For as much as the Most High have shown thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. Thou shalt be over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than thou.
So he set Joseph up over all of Egypt. Read that part again.
Thou shalt be over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled.
So anything Joseph said became law in Egypt. There was an Israelite ruling in Egypt. Read.
Only in the throne will I be greater than thou.
Only in the throne was he